I believe it.
Beautiful. And then Mr. Shields, yeah, if you want to start us off.
So, I had my first virtual appointment since the new virtual came out Sunday.
Nice.
So I, of course, waited to the last second to do the virtual demo training. But luckily, there was a 2 times option on the video playback. So as opposed to take 90 minutes, I did it in 45. And then she rescheduled anyways. So I woke up early on a Sunday to spend 45 minutes getting vector trained to not
Hashtag
apply.
vector trained.
Yeah, to not apply the training.
Cool. At least you're now virtual demo certified and can do those things at will at this point. That is a good reminder that if you haven't done the virtual demo training yet, you can still do the ones that you've grown up doing. But if you want to do the new one, got to watch that video. So that's a good reminder. I also have not done that yet. Beautiful. But I appreciate you sharing. Also, from my end, it was really great just having you back in the office, making calls, doing the thing again. I'm excited to get you up and running and back in action. So I appreciate you for that. Who's got next?
I'll go next.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a new jacket tomorrow because it's like
Speak loud for me.
Yeah. So I'm buying a new jacket and like boots tomorrow for the cold because last year I didn't have any. I just had this hoodie. It was awful. It was cold and I was dying.
What jacket are you getting?
Nice. So getting a jacket.
I haven't got it yet. I'm getting it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, man, do what you're getting.
A North Face maybe.
Cool.
North Face.
Beautiful. Who's got next? Cool. Speak loud for me.
Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, so I got my first sale on the board for the push, and then
I think it was an essential set, right?
I don't know.
It was the
It was
exact.
some random order.
It was the exact CPO of a basic essential set with free super shears.
I think it was like an upgrade to something. I don't know.
Appreciate those too.
Yeah, it was a service quality. Yeah.
Either way, how long made $311 CPO? 30% of that would be a little over $90. And if you hit bonus, you get what, 45%?
I hit bonus already.
Hey, so 45% of 311 is a complicated number, but it's over $100, which I appreciate. Well done.
Yep.
Were you going to say a second thing?
Yeah, and then like all my classes are going good. I have A's in all.
Nice.
Even math.
Nice. I know straight A's is something you've been working towards for a while.
Yeah.
Nice to see you finally achieving that.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then for Becky or Carissa or Madison, who's got next? Not all at once.
Oh. Well, my camera's not working, but for
Is that your
Becky.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, vector-wise, well, my sister just moved in with a few roommates, and I'm going by their house tomorrow to sell my guaranteed set. So hopefully, we're shooting for like a month.
Yeah. By the way, that is exciting. We don't always get the easy sales, but we do appreciate the easy sales. Becky's mom had bought a homemaker set over the summertime, and now that her sister's getting her own place and moving in, she's considering either buying a set for Becky's sister or just giving her sister the homemaker and getting a signature or an ultimate for herself. So either way, it's definitely going to be a sale. It'll be a set for the push. I think, Kayla, didn't your mom do something kind of similar? Like she just kind of timed an upgrade for a push?
Yeah, it was like CLC.
Yeah, I remember that similar.
Yeah, it took a lot of time.
I bet it did. That's exciting. So getting some sales. And also, Becky, I do want to say it was really exciting to see you get 4 demos lined up in the first phone jam that you did for the push. So very, very exciting. Miss Love or Miss Brown?
I'll go.
Go ahead. Your phone cut out a little bit, but if we can hear you, would love to.
Can you hear me?
Much better. Much better.
Okay. So I officially made my appointment to go meet with Salisbury, and I go November 13th to start like my transfer process.
Nice.
And I'll know that day if I made it in or not.
Cool. That's outstanding. I know that's something that we've been talking about and you're really looking forward to. So I will definitely root on that one. By the way, if I can ask, if you're not talking, if you can mute your background, someone's got like, yeah, very strange. I think it might be John Tevis. It's obviously John Tevis. Yeah, it's always John Tevis. Beautiful. Miss Love, would you mind sharing, please?
Yeah, sure. Can y'all hear me first of all?
Yes, you unmuted.
Okay, cool. cool, because these headphones are super weird, so I didn't know if it worked or not. Okay, cool. Well, for Vector-wise, I have gotten back in touch from a few of my past clients and everything. So
Nice.
hopefully this week, I'll be able to set up a few appointments working around
Feels good.
midterms and studying processes and labs and everything. So fingers crossed on that.
For sure.
And then outside of Vector, I guess all of us are like really starting to get ready for Halloween. So we're like going around and decorating our doors, which is actually super fun doing
Nice.
because we love doing like all the artsy crafts stuff.
I bet.
So hopefully it'll be a good Halloween this year.
By the way, did you get the package I sent you yet?
To be honest, I haven't even gone to the mailroom. I haven't had
Okay.
time.
Do that. If you haven't received it, I'm going to put all the blame on my wife, even though I should take responsibility. She did volunteer that she was going to get it done and then has been procrastinating. But if you have included some Halloween decorations, so at least go check it out and see.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll try and get
if it's
to that.
there,
Like,
let me know, and I'll pound the Jesus out of her. Also, Carissa, by the way, I never followed up with you on this. Your package was delivered at whatever place you told me to send the package to, so it's there. Just FYI.
Well, it's not because I live there and it's not there.
Okay. Well, I'll fight the
Yeah.
mailman then who put the delivery confirmation that it was delivered. I'll fight him. I'll talk to him.
Okay.
John, if you're in a spot where you can share hot news, I would like that. If not, you can just shake your head and I'll be like, I understand.
I've got a few minutes while I'm waiting in the 7-Eleven. But yeah, so what is what's
We're
being
sharing hot
asked?
news, something exciting, something that you're working on.
Super exciting. We just had our first cycling, or outside of Vector, we just had our first cycling trip for the semester, me being back, and it went way better than expected. We've got a decent group that we're expecting to come back to our second trip to go see the fall scenery. Something I'm working on right now. Actually, I got a lot of things to work on right now. But in terms of Vector-wise, I'm trying to plan around my apartment move when I'm going to go finally see the people who wanted service calls on bases local to here. Something I'm excited about is the mall's shift picking season for PA. Their next meeting is on November 1st. So right now I'm doing a massive round of calls to all their potential event team candidates to see if we can get them, at least even virtually, onto that meeting so we can start scheduling field trainings for the winter. So yeah, besides that, working to catch up on my Japanese course, and yeah, I think that's
Cool.
what I'm going to do.
Beautiful. By the way, make sure you start getting some momentum for the Oli and push for sure.
Yep.
Beautiful. I'll share mine. So first off, I got a bunch of stuff. We got the car. I know some of you guys heard about that. I sent videos. I think it's entertaining that Kevin was the first person to ride with me after I got the car. And I told Carissa I was taking him out, and her first comment is, when do I get to ride in it? And I realized that I'd taken her mom. Her mom rode with me from the picking it up to the detailer. And then Carissa was following as a chase car in her car and then picking it up. We picked it up together. We took a picture with the car together. And then she was the chase car. And then I took Kevin out the same day I got it. So I was like, I never took my wifey out. And then it just worked out that Nick was here on Thursday. Carissa and I scheduled a date. And it was really funny. She requested, she's like, instead of like a date, can we go out in the car together? And I was like, yeah, I'm on board with that. But it worked out that was Friday night. Nick was in the office on Thursday. So I took him out in the car just for fun. We did a quick little spin up to the mall and back, basically. I didn't tell my wife about that one, just FYI, just safer not, right? But anyway, so she finally got to ride in it and drive it. And she's really funny. She's entertaining AF. For those of you who have met her, seeing her drive that was hilarious. Anyway, so have the car. Excited to spend some more time with some of you guys in it. For those of you who are interested and excited, it is fast as hell, just so you know. Tomorrow, I'm actually driving up to Pennsylvania to meet Earl Kelly, and we're going to go for a spin in it and I'm going to do my damnedest to sell the company on a Tesla program. Just FYI.
Yeah.
They currently have a BMW program. I was just talking to my wife today, and for those of you who are considering something a little bit longer term with us, it was really nice. So some of you guys know the company, if you don't take the BMW, and you only need to be open for basically 2 summers as a district manager, and at the end of your 2nd summer, you're eligible for a free BMW. They give you $500 a month, which is enough to pretty much make the entire payment on a 3 Series, or if you want to upgrade, you just pay the difference. And if you do get a cheaper than $500 payment, they just give you $500 and you keep the difference, right? They're like, gas money or insurance money, whatever. Anyway, she has a really old Honda Civic that she really likes. It's not a nice car. I really don't like it at all, even a little bit. But she's really happy with it. So, excuse me. One of the things that we've been talking about is she's really excited about the Tesla. She's like, man, I'd like to get one for her. So I told her, I was like, hey, let's save up and, pay for the first one in cash. Let's save up. And if we save up enough and your car dies, right, we'll pay cash and get a second one. But then she texted me today and she goes, my car's making this noise again. It's something with the suspension. And that was something that we knew was an issue. Like we were prepared, like, hey, the $400 repair is coming. And all of a sudden, now that she's thinking about the Tesla, she's like, maybe this $400 repair is enough to total my car and sell it. And I was like, no. Right. We budgeted, we planned for this one. But I did tell her, I said, I said, repair the car for this one. But I said, honestly, if it gets to a point where she hasn't saved up enough to buy a Tesla in cash and her car dies, Vector will just buy her a BMW for free, right? Courtesy of being married to me, which is awesome. But really appreciated that and love having some really nice options. Her car will need to be replaced at some point in the next year. And when that happens, we'll see where we go, but really love having the options. And for those of you thinking about staying with us for a while, just having a free BMW is freaking boss. Second thing I appreciate is really good, but I forget what it is, so I'll tell you later. Anyway, let's switch gears. Sorry about that. That was anticlimactic way to end. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in here. I am going to ask you to have some notes handy. I'm going to stick and move. There's so much to do and so little time. Number 1 is I wanted to follow up.
Sorry.
Bro.
I'll be done. There you go.
Bro.
My bad.
Anyway, I wanted to follow up on the divisional prep. For those of you who were not physically there, you're away at school, those assignments are due on October 27th. They're in your email. Just wanted to remind you so you don't forget about it. I did want to mention one thing. For those of you who were there, some of the feedback I got from Kate, which she said as people were doing their drill for skill, she said people from basically every office. She had a template interview to pass out. And people were saying, oh, this isn't my interview. This isn't what we do in my office. And I just want to share with you guys 2 things. Number 1, every district manager has tweaked the interview to a degree to suit their local office, right? We all are the same thing. We do the same stuff. We have our programs, but we all have our nuances in how we run stuff. So just FYI, right? So all the differences were minor, but it seemed like it was a confusion for some people who were there. So my first thought for that is, number 1, it's okay, right, that our program is slightly modified. For those of you who have taken the one that Kate passed out and compared it word for word to mine, there's very little that is different. But the second thing is just a reminder that you have a copy of our interview, and we had prepped you to bring it with you, right? So if you were using the template, it means that you didn't bring your copy. So just FYI, right? The biggest thing, though, is don't worry about minor differences. It's okay. It's okay. Anyway, so that's the thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about briefly is the Olean push. So it started on Friday. We're only 72 hours in so far. But I want to share with you that as of right now, we are just shy of $5,000 for the week as a team. And almost all of that $5,000 counts for the Olean push. I did check to see where other offices are. So actually, let me put this on the board just so it's in writing. I just realized I'm about to spout off a whole bunch of numbers, and it would be significantly easier for you guys to look at So we have David Kirkner at 3,700. We have Ryan Trembler at 3,000. We have Anthony Gartman at 3,000. There. For the district managers, our top competition is Brian Scudieri. He was the number one district manager in the nation last year. And Owen Trapp, who I love, but also hate, because I've never once in my career beaten this guy in a push, ever. So that's where the top offices are. These three are division managers. Someone was kind of mumbling, like, wait a minute. They're division managers. Yeah. Our top two districts are at 5,000, then we're at 5,000. So it's a close effing race right now. Okay, so I want to tell you, number one, well done and congratulations. It is exciting to be beating a couple of pilot offices, and it is exciting to be competing with two people that, quite honestly, I've never even competed with before. So very, very exciting. I do want to let you guys know it's still early, right? We're only done with the first weekend. There are 2 full weeks, including 2 weekends, still remaining ahead of us. So we definitely could win the thing, or we could lose the thing, right? Depending on how we go. But I really want to say congratulations for everybody who stepped up by booking appointments and getting their first sales on the board. And I'm going to ask you guys, keep pushing, right? Especially depending on your schedule. For some of you guys, your schedule's open during the week and you could be booking appointments all the way through. Some of you guys, it's the weekend, right? Just picking a day and doing a couple appointments here and there. The emails to your past customers are big. Getting Facebook posts are big. You guys have all the scripts for that stuff. But I just want to let you guys know that we're off to a really nice start. We've got a really nice shot at not just taking home a trophy, but possibly being number one. So I am going to ask you guys for your best work over the next couple of days. And just a reminder, and if you don't have this written down, please write it down now. We have divisional phone jams for all reps, whether you're physically in an office or not. The next one is this coming Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. That'll be on GoToMeeting. And then the next one after that is on Sunday. And I forget the exact time. It's in your email. I want to say it's 4 to 6 p.m., but don't hold me to that. You got an email with the calendar, but just make sure those things are in your schedules locked and loaded. That said, I want to bring up Kevin really quick as a special guest speaker, if you can get up here. Let me give you the captain's chair. So just FYI, one of the things that we talked about at the Divisional Leadership Academy was doing a power hour and a planning session. One of the things that we talked about last week at Leadership Academy was finalizing and finishing your power hour. And then Kevin did a really nice job. He mapped everything out, made everything neat and organized. And then he manages his schedule on Google?
No, it's iPhone, the iPhone calendar.
Okay, the iPhone calendar. But I asked him, I said, what's your plan for the next couple of days? And he sent me just a screenshot of his calendar. And I was like, this is beautiful. It was amazing. So I asked him to share. So Kevin, if you don't mind first, if you can just share kind of your process for how you put together that. And I'd like you to walk through, to the best of your ability, what your schedule looks like. And I know we talked about this, but there are some people that are not students who have a more or less open schedule, but that doesn't mean they want to spend 95 hours a week working on Vector. And then there are some people that have school, sports, sororities and fraternities, whatever the case may be. And the way that you're juggling in other priorities that are non-Vector is the exact same way that they would juggle in that stuff. Right. But if you don't mind just sharing, again, your process for planning in Power Hour, share the schedule that you came up with, and some of your takeaways or keys that you've got.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so what I usually do every week, I usually plan out everything that I have to do, like the things that can't be moved, like the things that I actually want to do. And that's pretty much what I do. I'm not sure if you guys, I'll show you guys in a second. Can you guys see it? Okay. Well, I just write, well, in the morning, I just what is it? So I just write 30 minutes, I'll get ready and change. 30 minutes, I'll eat breakfast. For 30 minutes, I'll watch like a sales video or marketing video. Then I come into the office in the mornings for the 10X club. Then I do an hour of calls in the morning right after the club. I read an hour. I read a book. Then for 30 minutes, I eat lunch. For 30 minutes, I eat dinner. And I organize like my whole entire day. I get my clothes ready. I get all my papers ready. And then I take a shower. I also do an hour of e-commerce, which is selling stuff online. And then I go to the gym, or I just run like on my treadmill for like an hour.
Cool. So in a day like that,
Mm-hmm.
first off,
Yeah.
how many hours do you have mapped out? Like from what time to
Mhm.
what time do you have planned?
Yeah, so right now it's from 6 to 10. But I might change it back to 4:30 to 8. And that's only because I'm pretty sure the gym just started they just fixed their bathroom. Like they closed it down for like I think it was like a week or two to like remodel it or whatever, but I think they
Cool. So you've got 16 hours mapped out, 8
Yeah.
hours for sleep a day, which is great.
Mhm.
It's really funny for me when some people like they hear that and I'm like, oh my god, it's all day. It's like, no, you're still sleeping a full 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
You're just being effective with your time, whereas most people spend their time in front of the Netflix or whatever.
Mhm.
But anyway, so 16 hours mapped out.
Mhm.
How many of those hours working?
For me it's
And you can literally look at your schedule and count them real quick. Right? I wouldn't count reading. I wouldn't count watching your sales videos, but like actually working. I would include making phone calls. I would include doing appointments. I would include your e-commerce. It's a separate business,
Yeah.
but it still work.
so I work 7 hours.
Cool. Right? So 16 hours a day mapped out, 7 of them working.
Mhm.
And then the other 9, he just identified what he's doing, whether it's working out, eating, depending on the day, right? Things change. But I just wanted you guys to see what that looks like. And then Kevin, after having planned everything out like this, would you mind sharing just takeaways, tips that you have, keys, just overall how it makes you feel having everything planned out? And then if you don't mind opening up for Q&A, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so I would say it makes my day so much easier, like especially with the iPhone calendar. It tells you can put in like 30 minutes for driving time, 50 minutes for driving time, or you can even say you can put in your current location, and then you can say I have to be at Vector Marketing like here, and it tells you how much time it will take with the traffic, if there's like a car crash or something. So it tells me how much time I should have for that much. And and it also reminds me like 5 minutes before and 15 minutes before I have to start driving. So I just get prepared. And yeah, so just like I said earlier, 9 hours is to do e-commerce, my other business, an hour and a half for eating, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And then I think it's 2 hours of learning, just like college, but like just what I want to learn pretty much, or what I have to implement into my other business or into Vector. And then I always put in the gym, but sometimes I'm kind of lazy sometimes. But yeah, I still find enough room, especially with this calendar that I set up. I still have enough room to like hang out with my friends on the weekends, go to the movies. Like I went to the movies, like I think it was like Friday before I went to New York. And I just find so much more time when I schedule my stuff. And just to give you an idea of my of how tomorrow looks like, this is what it looks like.
By the way, what you're looking at, if you can't read it, everything in blue, he's just identified, here's what I'm going to be doing at that time, and here's how long I'm going to spend doing it, is ultimately it. He's just given his hours a name. And the concept behind that is that if you don't tell your hours where they're going to go, they'll go, but you're not the one in control. So he's just exerting control by saying what he's going to be doing and for how long.
And that's
So if you couldn't read it, that's what he's got going on there.
Yeah, so I even have like phone interviews. I have in-person interviews, and I have 2 appointments tomorrow with 2 different people.
Cool. I would like to open it up for Q&A. Quite honestly, for some of you guys, you attempted to do the power hour and either struggled with focus or struggled with like, man, like what do I do at the time? Or you started doing it but felt like it wasn't effective. Some of you guys haven't done it and you've been feeling stressed or behind or anything like that. So I just want to open it up for Q&A where you guys can ask Kevin and you can call on people.
Nick, go ahead.
Okay. Just one quick comment, and then I'll have my question.
Sure.
I find it really hilarious that you plan out 30 minutes to eat.
Yeah.
Like you plan everything down to even your eating and
Mhm.
organizing.
For sure.
Yeah.
By
But
the way, if you worked for someone else, they would tell you when you're allowed to eat for 30 minutes. He's just being a boss and telling himself when he's going to eat for 30 minutes.
that's
Right.
true. That's true.
Mhm.
My question to you is, what do you do when someone throws a monkey wrench into your schedule and
Good question.
literally your whole day is thrown off? Do you just continue the rest of the week as scheduled? Do you do another power hour? How do you adjust to a giant monkey wrench in your plans?
Yeah, so of course it does depend on what it is. Like let's say my car breaks down or something. I can't really do much about it, but I do try to schedule like another hour. So like let's say I missed my whole entire day. Let's say I didn't do anything today. For the next week, I'll put in an hour for every single thing that I have to do. I just sleep I just sleep 1 hour less. And I do everything, like read a book, because I don't want to be behind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Impressive. Okay. My next question.
May I add to that before you ask your next one?
Yeah.
So personally, I don't use an electronic calendar. Actually, Kevin, if you don't mind holding it up, like you're right in front of my calendar.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Yeah. So I use a pen and paper calendar. Either way, if you're using an electronic one, that's totally cool. You can make adjustments and edits. For me, and anybody who's worked as an assistant manager for me knows, because pretty much all of us use the same planner. I never write in pen in my calendar because things will change, right? Now, hopefully we're not so out of control that we lose an entire day, right? But sometimes something happens that throws things off, right?
Mhm.
So I always write in pencil so that I'm able to adjust. And the key is very simply to do a power hour over again. So if you lose some time, actually an easy example for me is when I got the rugby injury, it kind of messed up an entire week for me, right? No, I didn't lose the entire week, but I did feel like I was behind and playing catch up, partly because I was having a hard time sleeping. They put me on some steroids that messed up my sleep badly. So I was not able to sleep and it messed that up and I was starting the day late. And then just quite honestly being injured, not being at my peak performance, right? Not working any less hard, but my performance while injured just wasn't the same level while not injured. Either way, I would just frequently every day, like, all right, I have to accept here's where I am, right? I can't control some of the stuff, but I can control how I respond to it. And I would just make sure to adjust my schedule and get the high priority stuff done, even if it wasn't done during the time I'd initially wanted to get done. Does that make sense, by the way?
Yeah.
So that would be my response on that. I'm sorry for hijacking, but I did want to share. So
No,
Nick,
it's
go
all
ahead
right.
and ask
It's all
your
good.
second question.
It's nice to know that I did my entire power hour in pen and not have to redo it.
That's all right.
All right, my next question for you is,
Mhm.
what's the furthest out you've planned? So for example, like I know for the power hour, John said we have to do like 3 weeks. I can barely do 1 week because I can't tell you what I'm doing in 2 weeks on like Tuesday, for example. So like what's the furthest out you've planned and how like effectively did it work? Are you considering planning out further than just more than 1 week? So you do 1 power hour for 2 weeks?
The
Anything
longest,
like that?
yeah. So the longest I've done is a month, and it has worked out really good. Of course, some things do vary. Maybe I forgot a doctor's appointment, so I just add it in, and I adjust it. Of course, I adjust my schedule accordingly. But I was John was teaching me out. He was teaching me, and I also read this book. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller, and he says to plan your 1 day, then 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. And it's not just planning, it's also your goals. Like where do you want to be in 1 year? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? Like what do you want to have what do you want to see.
Okay,
pretty
so
much.
it's more like setting your goal. Okay, I thought you
And-
meant like
yeah.
I literally.
Yeah.
By the way, can I add to that?
Yeah.
Great response, by the way, and a really good question.
Mhm.
Part of this is you're right? It's like, man, I have a hard time seeing even a week in the future. It is a skill, and it's just like a muscle. The more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Mhm.
I remember vividly the first couple times my manager taught this to me and told me to do it. Literally, I blew it off the first 3 consecutive times I scheduled it. And eventually, I remember this vividly because it hurt. My manager pulled me aside. He asked about my power hour, and I told him honestly I hadn't done it yet. And he pulled me aside and he says, John, if you can't keep a meeting with yourself, how the hell do you expect customers to keep a meeting with you? And I was like, that hurts because it's true.
Mhm.
Right? So after he said that, it didn't feel good, don't get me wrong, but I did commit to my power hour, so it was effective. The first couple times I did it, literally I blocked off an hour. I worked for like 15 minutes and I felt like I was done. And I was like, I don't even know what to do. And I mapped stuff out and I had a schedule that I thought was put together. And what I found was that my schedule fell apart and it was a total freaking mess. And then I had to learn from that. And it took me a while, but you get the skill, right? You get the skill. So I would say the first thing is just get started and then just realize anytime stuff falls apart, or if you just feel like, man, I forgot something or whatever, just do it again, right? And it doesn't need to be a full hour like every time, but even just like pulling out your plan, be like, all right, where did I miss something? And just making the adjustment, even if you're writing pen and you're making cross out. But the process of doing that helps you get better, and then over time, it wasn't immediate. I got better at it. And now keep in mind, everything I just told you about, this was like 12 or 13 years ago, because I'm an old ass man. But now, and you'll appreciate this, I have my schedule mapped out in 15-minute intervals, 4 months at a time. Okay, I typically plan 1 quarter in 15-minute intervals. Now I write in pencil, and then obviously, right, when I planned out stuff back in September, I didn't plan to get a rugby injury that was going to sideline me. So I'm making adjustments now, but it's at least laid out as a template that I can adjust. Does that make sense? And then the second thing is the farther in advance you can think about, the more money you'll get paid. We get paid for the amount of time we deal with. That's a concept I'll share in detail at another time, but it's a good one. But like Kevin was mentioning, you don't need to have the full 15-minute intervals 10 years out in 2028 mapped out, but at least have an idea, like, where do I want to be? One thing my wife and I actually had talked about, we did a vision/dream session together as one of our date nights a couple of years ago. And we mapped out, like, where do we want to be? And it was funny because at the time I wasn't playing rugby, but I told her I was thinking about coming back. And so we found an old picture of me playing rugby in college, really good picture where I was fit. Let me just say that. But kind of really good picture of me playing rugby in college. And we put it on a dream board, right? Like someday we'll be playing rugby, or I'll be playing rugby again. For her at that time, she wanted to get back into dancing. And so we found a picture of her doing a performance and put that on the board. The funny thing is at the time she was dancing salsa. Now she's doing a totally different type of dance, but she's back in dance. By the way, before Vector had a BMW program, my dream car was a BMW, right? So we printed out a picture, actually literally went on the BMW website, customized a car. By the way, the car that I customized was $127,000 because we were dreaming, but we printed out a picture of it and pinned it on the dream board. And then things changed. Tesla came out and things changed, but we were able to get the Tesla. And then we talked about BMW earlier, but that dream I would say is achieved. But anyway, so did we know exactly what the path looked like back then? Did we know exactly how it would shake out? No. But when we talk about months and years in advance, it's at least having an idea of what direction do I want to be moving in.
Yeah.
I think that just expands a little bit on what you said. Anyway, let me turn it back to you.
Yeah, I remember there's this video on YouTube, it's called Living My Best Life by Jim Rohn. And pretty much what he says is if you don't plan, you're planning to fail. And it's totally true, because if you don't plan your day, it's like driving a vehicle and not knowing where your destination is. You're just gonna be like going to Pasadena, Virginia, Florida, wherever. You're not gonna know where you're going, and you're pretty much, you just don't know where you're going. So
Other Q&A?
yeah, other questions? You guys have questions?
Should we take that as silence as acceptance?
Yeah, I think so.
I could ask another one.
Go ahead.
Well, this is more of a comment to add to what you said. I definitely agree because like it's not like I don't plan anything. Like I just wake up and I just like look out the window. I'm like, oh, what should I do today? Like I do plan a lot. I just plan like organically. Like let's say for example, like I know Leadership Academy is at 7:30 every Monday, so like I can plan around that. Like okay, well, what generally do I do on Monday? What can I get done? What do I have time to do? And like how much time will I allot to it? What time will I like leave and stuff like that? So like I definitely do agree with like if you don't plan, then like you're driving nowhere or you're just driving no purpose. So, but I just think that like I don't know, maybe there are different methods to planning. Maybe I don't know. But anyways, that's my 2 cents.
Find a system that works for you. For
Yeah.
sure. Hey, Kevin, I appreciate you sharing, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
And I would encourage all of you guys, if you haven't already, do your power hour for this coming week, the week that we're in right now, so that you are ready to rock and roll, especially by the time we get to the next phone jam, so you know what you're looking at. Beautiful. That said, we have about 45 minutes left. I want to get into our management topic and a leadership topic. And then if we have time at the end, I have a special bonus for you guys that's been requested by a couple of people. For the management topic, though, and I'm going to ask you guys, if you're on teleconference, if you can unmute for this one and engage with us. But I want to talk about coaching reps through successes, specifically when they're winning, when they're having big results or big orders or whatever the case may be. I want to talk about managing those people. And for this part, again, I'm going to ask you guys to share, and I'm also going to encourage you to take some notes here. So first off, I want you guys to imagine, whether you're an assistant manager or a branch manager or a district manager, if you're leading people, and I want you to imagine they have a really exciting big result. They sell like an ultimate set. Now, by the way, this applies in any business, but for vector purposes, let's say they sell an ultimate set or a flatware chest, or right. In some cases, they'll sell an ultimate and a flatware chest, or a signature and a flatware chest, or something really exciting like that. First thing I want you guys to think about when they call in with that conversation, they're calling in and telling you about it. What is your desired outcome from the conversation? What are you trying to accomplish when you talk to that person?
To get them even, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm going to get, Kayla, I'm going to have you go last every time for the simple fact that you've done this before. But I definitely value your input for that exact, possibly. But Kevin, go ahead, and then I'll get Nick, and then anyone on teleconference. I'd love to have your guys' input as well.
I would say pretty much just to get them pumped up about their big sale, and just get them excited so that they can keep getting more appointments, and so that they can like be excited about the future, I would say.
Cool. Nick, what you got?
One, your HDMI unplugged.
Yeah, no, you watched me unplug it.
Okay. 2, my goal for them, definitely get them to capitalize on their momentum. Momentum is a very powerful thing to have. However, I don't want them to get overconfident or like, feel like an ego, like, oh, every appointment's going to be like a signature and a flatware chest. I want them to still analyze their appointments as if they made a no sale, make note of their mistakes, and make sure that they improve for the next appointment, and just keep on going. And remember that on any hard day that they have, they can think back to this day and think of like the potential that they could have and how well they could do, and that they can do this because they've done it before.
Cool. Perfect. I'd love to hear from Becky or Madison or Carissa, your guys' thoughts. Your ladies' thoughts, sorry.
Okay. Well, I guess if nobody wants to go, I will go. Definitely point out the things that they did, or the things that they think that they did really good on, as well as the things that they think that they can improve. Because yeah, you may have just scored, an awesome sale, but that doesn't mean it was a perfect appointment or a perfect performance. And there's always more to really prove upon. So definitely go over what they did right and, try and keep that momentum like what he said before, but also try and improve what they think personally that they could do better, or if it was a field training, if there's any notes that anybody can give, or maybe at the end of the appointment they didn't have as many numbers or references, so maybe work on references as well, and basically just go over the good and the bad so you can both improve on both.
I love that. When they have something really good happen, I love finding something they didn't do right and just crushing their soul with that. By the way, I say that sarcastically, but I actually mean it, just FYI. Kayla, I'd love your input, and then I'll expand on that.
Okay, well, everyone kind of took what I was gonna say, but
Love
it. But yeah, definitely.
See, if they do something right, find something to crush their soul.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, Kayla.
But yeah, when someone calls in, obviously I celebrate their sale. But at the same time, you don't want them to okay, yeah. So say they sold an office at that's a pretty big sale. You don't want them to okay, well, great. Let me not do any more demos for the week, because they could have they've already what's that $2,600 order or something, 2,400 CPO. So they could have a 5K week or a 3K week. So you want to get them to think big from that, and especially if they have another demo. I use that too, because excitement sells Cutco, so I use that to get them excited about their next demo. Or if they don't have another demo, well, either way, I'm going to make them make phone calls. But, but
that right there is the golden. Write that one down.
But that's how you get them excited about making phone calls, because they just made a big sale, so they're okay, I want to do more demos. This is great. So yeah, and then of course, Madison said, you want to. Hey, what did you do well? What did you not do well? Because she said, you could have sold an ultimate set, but that doesn't mean the appointment was good. You could have just had a really good customer who's going to buy either way. So
that is so true. Especially your new reps. They sell Cutco because Cutco sells Cutco and they're excited. They suck. None of them do what you taught them to do. And Kayla, you can vouch for this. When you look back at teaching people how to sell and you look back at your first appointments,
yeah, they just bought because they knew me. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so cute.
And you look back and you're oh man, what was I doing? And for all of you guys, when you get to the point, soon enough, by the way, when you're learning how to teach people, you're going to look back at your first appointments and be what was I doing? But anyway, you're not wrong. So those are all great advice. I want to add a couple things to it. Number one is that as a leader, whatever emotion your people are feeling, our goal is to get them back to neutral emotionally. Okay, so if they're really high and excited, our goal is to get them back to level, right? If they're really down and beat up and upset, our goal is to get them back to neutral, right? Because when they're at neutral, there's a saying, and you guys may have heard this before, you never want to make a big decision when you're hungry, broke, tired, angry, right? Essentially emotional. When we have high levels of emotion, our levels of logic are low. By the way, that's worth writing down because that's something you're going to hear a couple times over the coming weeks. When emotion is high, logic is low. So emotionally, we want to get them back to neutral so they make good decisions.
Emotion is high.
Logic is low. Second thing is, no matter what they sold, I love the concept or the idea. This wasn't in my notes, but it was wonderful, that just because they had a good result doesn't mean they did good quality work, right? It's entirely possible they got lucky. That does happen. What I was going to say is that as a manager, you never want to be overly excited about their results. And the concept is really simple. Let's say that, like I said earlier, let's say they sold an ultimate set or a flatware chest or something. If you're oh my God, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. What that tells them is that this isn't normal. Right. What it tells them is this doesn't happen. And guess what? If they expect it to not happen, guess what happens? It doesn't happen again. Right? It's entirely possible that if we over celebrate what they sold, they're like, oh, this is weird, right? So instead, when someone sells big, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Told you, right? Like, yeah, I told you that would happen. I remember vividly this office, the first Ultimate set that was sold. I still remember it vividly. It was 6 years ago. Kathleen Taylor sold it at 1:00 in the morning to a customer who lived in Hawaii. So it was 1:00 a.m. for her, but 7 p.m. for the customer, very normal for the customer. She sold it in bed. This was back before the video demo. So she literally had the laptop laying on her chest, did the demo, sold an Ultimate, hit Dirty 30 on that demo, and then didn't even ask the customer referrals, got their credit card number and just shut the laptop and fell asleep. And it was such a good story. It's memorable, plus it was my first Ultimate. But when she called me about it and told me in the morning, my gut reaction was like, that's amazing, first Ultimate ever. But I had to be very cautious to not do that because I knew that if I set that as the thing, like first Ultimate ever, she would automatically go, ooh, so no one buys Ultimates. Got it. Does that make sense? Right. So that's why you want to, no matter what they sell, to be very, very normal. One thing that I just learned at the SLC conference that I'm definitely using going forward is the concept, and you can write this down, just I'm worried about you. And I had this conversation with a rep just last night. Just, I'm worried about you. It means I'm worried about you. That's what it means.
Okay. You're right.
No secret message. So here's the concept. As human beings, naturally, we have a tendency to get complacent. I was even talking to my wife about this last night, unrelated to Vector, but conceptually related. She was telling me that she's been struggling. So she has her existing business. It's going really well, but she's working on creating a second business. And she's been falling behind and slacking off. And quite honestly, she's been working on this stuff since February. And she's made very close to zero progress, right? And then finally got some stuff going. But after 1 week, she's doing the same 30-day challenge that I'm doing, right, for her business that I told you guys about 2 weeks ago. She's doing the same deal. But after 1 week, we're 6 lessons in 7 days. She's completed lesson 1. Right? And what she had a really good realization last night. She goes, I'm hard on myself, but I'm not hard on myself, and I don't know how to put it into words. And here's what I shared with her that I think is relevant that you guys will take away. I said, as humans, we are our own toughest critic. We beat ourselves up over all the things we didn't do right and all the things we messed up on. We are very quick to beat ourselves up. What we're not good at is taking preventive action, right? So when we're procrastinating or putting things off, we don't have that I'm disappointed in you conversation. We wait until after we failed to meet an objective, and then we have the I'm disappointed in you conversation with ourselves. Does this make sense? Now, as a leader, if we recognize that that's a pattern, we can intercept and interrupt that pattern. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? So rep is super excited. They just had a big sale. Kayla made the comment, man, if they just had a $2,600 order, they should be thinking about a $5,000 week. Kayla's, right, ready to rock and roll. But sometimes they don't do that. They go, ooh, I just made a big sale. I'm already getting a paycheck for $500. We're good. And then they'll cancel all their appointments and tell you that everybody else rescheduled. I know none of you guys would have ever done that, but it happens, right? Or, quite honestly, they'll go to their demo and be like, I don't even care if you buy or not because I'm already getting paid. And then they just kind of half whatever, right? So I'll intercept. And I did this the other day with a rep that's doing a really nice job. And here was my conversation. I'm worried about you. And you can imagine, right? Rep's doing well. And you tell them you're worried about them. How are they going to react to that?
Why?
Be like, that's not what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's called is a pattern interrupt. Okay, it's called interrupting because they're expecting, oh, I know I'm doing a good job. My manager's going to be really happy for me. And I cut in with, I'm worried about you. They're like, wait, what? And because you've interrupted their pattern, they're more receptive to what you guys have to say. You guys tracking with me here? Mm-hmm. And the conversation that I had is I know that as humans, we have a tendency to get complacent, right? It's, hey, you did a good job. You did something well. I don't want to take that away from you. But I know as humans, we have a pattern or a tendency to get complacent. And here's where that road leads. And I just kind of walk them through, right? What happens if they get complacent? And then I say, you have to stay hungry. I don't care how much you sold on that one appointment. It's only one appointment, right? Home runs don't win baseball games. Consistency wins baseball games. If someone goes out to bat, has one home run, but they strike out the other 8 innings that they're at bat, it's not a winning team, right? So you have to keep your nose to the grindstone. And I had this conversation with a rep the other day, and it was great. Another thing that Kevin mentioned that I love is always dangling the carrot of the next level of getting promoted, right? And again, I had this exact same conversation with the exact same rep. I said, hey, you're off to a nice start. Things are going well. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe you sold 3 homemakers in a row. Oh my gosh. By the way, she did, right? Sold 3 consecutive homemakers and then an essential set. It wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe that. How do you have 100% closing ratio and an average order of $700? How is this happening? Right? It's instead like, cool, yeah, that's awesome, right? I told you everybody likes the homemaker set. They've all bought something off the end of the video, right? Yeah, I told you. That's what happens. You know, I'm worried about you because you're getting a nice paycheck. You've hit 2 promotions in your first week on the job. I'm really worried that next week you're going to be complacent, had that conversation. And then I said, hey, just FYI, you know, you're brand new on the job, but if things continue to go well and if you continue to work hard, you could earn a spot on the management team by the end of the year. I just wanted to put that in front of you. And then in her mind, she's like, ooh, I've got something new to work towards. Does this make sense, by the way? Yeah. And by the way, for every single one of you guys here having this conversation, your manager did that to you, right? You started doing well, you had some successes, and they started saying, hey, if you're doing well in this job, you could get promoted, and you got excited about that. And then the natural progression was you had to sell more to earn it, right? I think you had to sell a certain amount to get an interview with Kate, and then another different amount to get accepted into Leadership Academy. And it just kind of makes sense. Like it works. And then the last thing, and a bunch of you guys said this, but the concept is great. Drive more demos, right? Even for Kevin last night, if you guys followed the team GroupMe or the Leadership Academy GroupMe, Kevin posted in there all excited. By the way, I crushed his soul on purpose, just FYI, right? And also in all seriousness, right?
Yeah.
Posted in the GroupMe. He's like, hey guys, I just sold 2 essential sets back to back. It was like 800 CPO. I'm the man. And then I got like 20 or 50 referrals, right? Mm-hmm. And then I commented, I was like, hey, he did it on only 2 demos. That's exciting. And then immediately, it was only 2 demos though. # needs more demos. And then Kevin was like, yeah, he's like, oh, son of a, right? And I very quickly brought him back down to neutral. And I got him focused on, all right, I got 2 successes, but I need more ahead of me. Do you guys get that? And just FYI, everything we're talking about, like in a lot of cases, you can recognize like, oh man, whether it was me or Kayla or Bryce, like your manager did this. I hate the word to you, but they did, right? The one thing I want to clarify, it's not manipulative. It is always sincere. It's always genuine. We're not like, oh, I'm going to pull this lever and make them do this, right? It is sincere. But we have to realize the patterns of how the brain works so that we know how to approach them, right? But I just want to be clear. It's never designed to just manipulate people.
Oh. Is that Jack? That's Jack in the blue car.
He scared me.
Yeah, Jack, can you come inside? Come inside. I love you.
Oh my God.
Jack Meyer, everybody, you're on camera.
I have to go to the bathroom. I can.
Yeah, 1606 star.
I'm not gonna lie, it
scared me too.
No, I knew it was him because I knew the voice.
Anyway,
I didn't know who it was. I was like, who's that?
Anyway, sticking a move in here.
I was like,
Here, back. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. Sorry, guys. But anyway, bringing it back. I know what it was. I was just saying it's not designed to manipulate people. It's coming from a place of being sincere, being genuine, but knowing how the brain works, so we know how to meet them where they are and work with them. Do you guys tracking with me here? So here's what I'd like to practice, and I want you guys to role play this. So Kevin, if you can help me out, I'd like you guys to role play this.
Mhm.
Over the summertime, one of our biggest wins and one of the coolest, like, exciting events that happened was Will Boynest had a $20,000 fast start, right? He broke an office record. He didn't break a divisional record. He didn't break a region or a national record, but he did break an office record. And he did a really nice job, made $5,000 in 10 days and kind of set the tone for the summer of what was possible, right? I do want to point this out. And by the way, Will is sick right now, but he is going to watch the recording. So I just want to point this out, that he did a lot of stuff right. His manager did help him a ton through the process. But after his fast start ended, he did not have continued success because both he got a little bit complacent and his manager also got a little bit complacent. And so the fast start kind of was, right, I think it was like 97% of his total sales, which, by the way, again, Will's going to see this, so that's not behind his back, but something to recognize, like, all right, I understand why this matters. Does that make sense? So I want you guys to imagine that you just had a rep who sold $5,000 or more in a week, right? They had a great week. They made over $2,000 in commission, got a couple pay raises. They were number one in your office, and they were top 5 in the entire region, right? Mm-hmm. And I want you to imagine that you scheduled a powwow with that rep. So they're coming in to meet with you, and they're going to debrief the week. And your goal is they're coming in for the first time. They're feeling excited, but you want to have a conversation to get them focused in on the next week. You guys with me? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what I'm going to ask is, Kevin, if you can role play with Madison and Carissa and Becky. Mm-hmm. Actually, Kayla, if you don't mind, Madison, mute your phone, or not your phone, excuse me, mute your computer or stay muted. Call Madison and do her, and then when Nick comes back from the bathroom, I'll have him jump in with you as well. I got you. Okay, cool. And then Kevin, you'll have Carissa and Becky. Does that make sense? And Carissa and Becky, if you guys can. Does that make sense, though? Yeah. The scenario is you just had a rep who sold $5,000 for the week. They made a couple grand, hit a couple promotions. They're number one in your office, top 5 in the region, right?
Is this fresh out of
and
training?
They're coming in for doesn't matter.
Okay.
Any $5,000 a week, but or even like in a push.
Okay.
But they're coming in for a powwow with you. It's Tuesday morning. They're meeting with you one-on-one, and your goal is to have a conversation and set the tone for the new week.
Okay.
By the way, one sidebar. One of my favorite things to say on Tuesday is that you're back at 0. Right? The week's over. You're back at 0. Right? Crush their soul. Anyway, so Kayla, if you can head back here, Nick, go with Kayla.
Do you want me to do it first and then they go, or do you want them to just go first?
Okay, yes. The answer is yes. All right, but I'll give you guys, by the way, go relatively briefly. I'll give you maybe 10 minutes to work on this, and then I'll come back and I have one more thing I do want to teach you guys before we wrap up together.
Okay.
So enjoy.
Okay, thank you. So this
And then Kevin, you've got Carissa, and you can just sit where you are.
Oh, okay.
You've got Carissa and Becky.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Becky, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure.
I'll be the sales rep, and then you'll be the manager.
Okay. Well, Kevin, how do you think you did this week?
I think I did amazing. I sold 5 ultimate sets, and I got 1,000 referrals.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, I see here that you're actually top 5. You're actually top in the office right now, and you're actually top 5 in the region. And I want to say congratulations. Keep up the momentum. But I do want to remind you that you still have the rest of the week to go, and there's always room for improvement. But do you think there's anything you could have improved or enhanced about your demos?
I think I could have upsold them in like accessories or like something else, not just the ultimate set.
Okay. Well, maybe this week we can probably go over showing like the entire book and showing all the products that we have and all that. But so far, you're doing a great job. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Wow.
I think that was definitely good. The only thing that I would add is pretty much just ask them, what do you think you did well, and what else, and what do you do, what could you improve? I think the only thing you asked is, what could you improve on? Is that correct? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so just ask those two things, and then it should help you. It should help you better with what we're gonna tell them, pretty much.
Okay.
Okay. Madison, you want to go? Hello? 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 Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't show anyone.
Oh, my computer's messed up, so you can't see me, but
Oh, okay. And I can't even see Madison anymore. Are you there, Madison? I think she's gone.
okay. Well,
Okay, so I'll just go again.
okay.
At first I could see her, but now it's just
Yeah, I
gray.
saw it for a second. I don't know what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, but anyways, you'll be the sales rep, and then I'll be the manager.
Okay.
Okay, so Becky, I kind of saw your sales, but I'm not sure how did it go exactly. Tell me more about it.
Oh yeah, it was a pretty cool week. I had I sold like a flatware chest, and also had like 2 ultimates, and also sold a cool 6 outdoor accessories. So yeah, and overall I sold about a little bit over 5,000. So
Okay.
I'm pretty excited, pretty pumped.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what do you think you did well?
Well, I did manage to get about 75 referrals. So overall, I feel like I did pretty well.
Okay, awesome. And what do you think you could improve on?
I probably could have done better at probably giving them more something to work with, I guess, with examples and showing them like hands-on activities. It felt pretty quick, so
Right.
probably going a little bit slower, I guess.
Okay, cool. So it looks like you did really well not dropping down, selling the sets, and also just
Yeah, you've got
upselling
about
them.
5 minutes left.
Okay, got it.
So, I mean, keep working through, but if you haven't switched yet or whatever, switch up. But this one, by the way, I want you to actually role play the conversation, not theory.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like you did really well. You sold 2 ultimate sets, a flatware chest, and you did upsell them a couple things, like you said, the hunting gear or something like that.
Yeah.
But the only thing I would work on is referrals, because you didn't tell me much about the referrals, so I'm guessing that you didn't get any. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got about, I don't know, probably like close to 50, but I would hope to get more.
Okay. Yeah, so the one thing I would work on is trying to upsell them more stuff. Like maybe you could work out a deal. You could call the manager office. Like I do know that you didn't really call in. You just placed the order and then you kind of left. You forgot to call in. So one tip I would give you is to call in during and after your appointment. Also to ask for more referrals. And yeah, so today is Monday, and you do know that you tomorrow, since tomorrow's Tuesday, you're back at 0. So it's a brand new week. You have to get more demos, and I'd like to see you tomorrow at the 10X so we can book more demos.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. I think that's it.
That was good then. And then you did well on the feedback, or like providing ways that they can improve and giving like the extra detail, like being able to call and then come into the office and all that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. And
But
then,
did you want to do it one last time?
sure. Let me just see if Madison's there. Madison. Yeah, she's not here. Okay. Do you want to go?
Okay. Well, hey, Gavin, how do you think you did this week?
I think I did amazing. I sold an ultimate set, a flower chest, 2 2 signatures. Yeah, I think I did well.
Oh, that's great. How do you think you could have improved on your demos?
Yeah, so I did forget to get referrals. That's the one thing. I guess I just got really excited when I got the sales. And I also forgot to upsell them in accessories like hunting gear, accessories like gifts and stuff like that. So I would say just to upsell them more stuff and to get more referral because I got like 0.
Oh, okay. Well, so far sales-wise, you're doing great. But I would say, I believe it should be page 11 that has the referral sheet. But I would say if you want to come into the office anytime this week, we can go over that page. And honestly, once you get that page down, you'll feel a lot better with referrals and be a little more confident with it. So then with the upcoming week, you should be able to dominate it in referrals. But so far, you're doing great. Keep your momentum going. Keep pushing away. There's still more to come because we are going to start at 0 tomorrow.
Mhm.
But we can get on the phone either tomorrow or maybe Wednesday, and we can go through the referral script part together and probably get it down packed for you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. I really liked how you said one thing that I would add to it is just to say, like right after you said you start, since today is Monday, you start on Tuesday or you start tomorrow at 0. So what I would like you to do is to keep your momentum. Yeah, you might have had good sales for this week, but we don't want to lose that momentum for next week. So I have you come in. I would like you to come in Tuesday or tomorrow in the morning and just book more appointments. So then we can have another good week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I should probably add that myself because I didn't say it. I just thought about it right now. Yeah, something I think would be like good to like add maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'll just go one more time.
Okay.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. First off, was role playing that and kind of getting a chance to experience it helpful?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I watched Jack. He just had a rep who has been struggling for a little bit and finally got a big sale. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about next week.
Okay.
Well, I had a great conversation. But next week, we're going to talk about what to do when you have reps that are struggling, either ongoing or they have one big challenge. We'll talk about how to work with them through that. And also just FYI, when we get to the winter break and you guys are back in town, not only will you have your own push and the chance to win the trip, and we've been talking about that, but also you'll have a chance to actually put this stuff into practice and practice managing people. So very excited. Before we move on, and I do have one last thing I want to cover in our last few minutes together, but any questions on any of this stuff before we move on from this topic?
Can we see you do? Can we see you handling it?
Yes.
Like one of us or something. That we can see
Yes.
you do it.
What I will do, actually, yes.
Wait for my book.
What I was going to say, instead of role playing a contrived scenario, just because we just did that, I will either come up with another scenario, record myself doing it, or I may do both, or I will actually record like a live conversation. If you guys remember, I fired that, and that was an interesting conversation. So I recorded the conversation live and uploaded it into the website. By the way, if you're curious, go to the website. Like I actually have a recording of me firing someone. It's awesome.
Where is it?
Savage. JohnGodwin.com/leadership. But don't watch it now. But anyway, I may record a live conversation and put it on there. Either way, yes, I'll be happy to get a recording of me one way or another, and I'll definitely put it on the website for sure. So Kevin, I appreciate you asking for that because now I'll do it. Any other questions for any of you guys before we move on? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right, here is the last thing. The leadership topic. We were going to do this last week and we didn't get to it, so I'm going to hit it tonight. is very simply the integrity gap and the most important question you can ask yourself. So if you want to put this down, it's the integrity gap. Trenton Booth teaches this. It's a really big component of emotional intelligence. And the question is really simple. It's, did I do what I ought to do? That's it. Did I do what I ought to do? I have people all the time tell me like, oh, I don't have enough time. I feel one way or another. Cool. Did I do what I ought to do? And I'll tell you, we always have results outcomes, right? Whether it's winning a game or getting a six-pack or in a certain case, selling a certain amount of Cutco, we always have outcomes, right? Losing a certain amount of weight, putting on a certain amount of muscle. We always have a desired outcome. But in some cases, we can't control the direct result, right? We can't control the direct result. And what I judge myself on, so I have sales targets, right? I've got sales targets here now, today, this week, but I don't judge myself based on how much Cutco we sold. I judge myself based on, did I do what I ought to do? Okay, and you'll experience this. You guys have experienced it as sales reps. You'll experience it as as leaders as well. There are some times that as a sales rep, like we just talked about, you didn't do a great job, right? You didn't do everything you could have did, and you still made a big sale. You still had a great outcome, right? And equally, there are some times that you try your damnedest and you just don't get the desired result, right? So I have a desired target. I don't not have a goal, but I judge myself or I rate myself based on the actions that I took. Does that make sense? And I'll tell you, last week, just as an easy example, is we had a really good week. We had a great training class. We sold a good amount of Cutco. We had a really nice forward increase in our sales last week. But there were a couple things, and again, right, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but with the injury, I was having a hard time waking up at 5:30 a.m., which is always part of my plan. So I didn't get up at 5:30 a.m. one time last week. It was in my calendar. It was my intention. I typically wake up at 5:30 a.m. and I'm working by 6, and it just didn't happen. And to a degree, I had to forgive myself because of the injury and say, hey, my best when I'm injured is not equal to my best when I'm healthy. But I had to judge myself and say, I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and there was an integrity gap there. And I started trying to figure out, what can I do to move the needle forward? And if I have an integrity gap between what I should do and what I did do, how do I close the gap? Does that make sense? And you're never going to get it to perfect. You're never going to get it to where you just execute at 100%. It's just not human. But the goal is, how small can we get that integrity gap? Does that make sense? And by simply asking yourselves, did I do what I ought to do, or did I do what I said I would do? That is one of the fastest ways to identify your area of growth opportunity. And I want to give you another thing. I learned this from Trent Booth again. But another thing, when you do your power hour, I want to give you a couple questions to ask yourself before you do your next one. Okay, super simple questions, but I want you to actually ask them and write down your responses. And just FYI, your response, if you're a writer, you can write as much as you want, but literally all you need is 2 or 3 words. You just need an answer. It doesn't need to be overly complicated. Okay. In fact, Earl Kelly does this every single morning to start his day, but he times himself. And from the time he starts to the time he's completely finished, not more than 5 minutes. He sets an alarm, and if the alarm goes off, he puts it away, and his goal is to not finish, right? So it's like 5 minutes or less. So anyway, here's the questions. How do I feel? And Kayla, you may have heard this before. How do I feel? It's so easy as humans to always say, how you doing? Great. I'm good. How are you? So easy. And it's not always true. Right? It's not always true. In Vector especially, we have a tendency to always want to be high energy and excited. And by the way, in a public place, that is what you should be. You should always put on the game face. Right? But when you're by yourself, you can be real. And sometimes it's like, how you doing? I'm good. And then you sit down with yourself and you're like, not good. let's talk about that, right? So anyway, how do I feel? Give the real answer. And then the second question is, why do I feel that way? And sometimes there's a specific thing that happens and you're like, yeah, that's the thing that made me feel that way. Sometimes it's like, man, I really don't know. Why am I feeling that way? And you can dig into it a little bit. By the way, I'll tell you, one time I did this and I thought I was feeling good. Genuinely, I thought I was good. And I started writing and I was like, whoa, I am not good. Why is that? And I dug into it and examined that a little bit, right? Next question, I do love this one, is how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel? And it's not uncommon that there is a gap between how we do feel and how we want to feel. And then very simply, the last one, how can I get there? How can I get there? How can I get from where I am to where I want to go? And you guys have heard this before, this isn't new, but the most important person that you lead is yourself. And so by asking yourself these questions, whether it's once a week in a power hour or like Earl Kelly every day, or sometimes when you just notice yourself feeling funky and not knowing why, learning how to lead yourself will make you a better leader of others. So I wanted to give you that stuff. That said, we are just about out of time. I do have a secret bonus exercise that I want to do with you. Obviously, I'm not going to start it now because we're at 9 o'clock. But next week, we're going to talk about how to work with reps when they are not succeeding and not doing well. That'll be fun. And then I'll also share my secret bonus thing with you guys as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stick around and ask. I've got time. If not, I love you. I appreciate you. If you're watching the recording, I appreciate you too. And I will see you guys on Thursday for our divisional phone jam. I'm going to hold, yeah, I was going to hold it until Madison signed off because she just shook her head at me.